This is House Corrections and Institutions. It's Wednesday, January 15th. We're continuing our morning conversations, our morning testimony, and we're now shifting over to BGS. And we have the Commissioner of BGS with us, as well as all of her staff, in a way, her department, her heads of divisions and different district managers. And welcome, Wanda, if you could identify yourself for the record.
So thank you, Madam Chair. Wanda Manoli, Commissioner of Buildings and General Services. I am excited, as we had talked the other day, to be here. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to kick off our presentations that will be, because we'll be spending a lot of time with just a general overview of Buildings and General Services. As we had talked in the a little bit, I think sometimes, and as you were hearing the capital bill last year is presented to you, Buildings and General Services is, if you open up the umbrella, there's a lot more under the umbrella than design and construction or property management. And I look at you as our committee of jurisdiction. And as we move forward, any policy or statutory changes, come from this committee. And I think the chair was talking about policy to you in different ways. So this morning, we're going to try to accomplish a couple of things, and we'll just see where it goes, but it's just an overview. And I'd also just like to, I think there were a couple things the chair just said in your previous presentation. And first of all, I want to say I did appreciate hearing Ledge Council do the overview on last year's capital bill as a new commissioner, because I think what's really important in that conversation is hearing the intent. And even though we've read it and we've looked at it, hearing that intent again, I think is really necessary, because it's helped me align already some of the thinking in my mind. And the other thing the chair mentioned to you is cost of projects and the environment. And she was talking about the cost of beds in a correctional facility, and or we were talking about the mental health facility. You were talking about that. I think one of the things I just want to bring right up front and talk about as we start to present projects and roll out, you're going to hear that the environment has not changed. And actually, I think that you're going to learn that the cost of construction has even gone higher. Workforce impacts that, materials, lead times, and there's some categories in specific materials. So it hasn't changed. And in some cases, where you're going to learn this year that we're probably experiencing that more so. So I thought it was a great point that you made. So we're here to talk, just do an overview of I always want to go here, but I will go here, the Department of Buildings and General Services. I thought I'd present to you just very simply the org chart, and it shows that these are the key positions. And I want to go to the bottom of the org chart, where you'll see we have design, construction, operations and maintenance, policy and planning and property, the state energy program, and the communication coordinator, which is really our legislative liaison and communication coordinator. The goal of BGS is responsible for providing facilities and general services to all state agencies to accomplish their mission. And this also includes partnerships with Vermont businesses and some businesses outside. You'll learn about our procurement process. So we contract for all commodities for state government, not just the building piece. We have 334 employees in total. The commissioner's office has 4 full-time and 1 assistant AG assigned to us. So John Gebert is the director of operations and maintenance. John has 215 employees of our total. So operations and maintenance, and as you can see on the map, we are broken into districts. This is your custodial team. This is ongoing maintenance of all of our buildings, keeping everyone happy. when the heat isn't working or the carpet needs to be replaced. This is the team that works on it. And they are, and I think this group of people, because we're sitting here in Montpelier, but if you go back to the areas that you represent, where there's a state building or clusters of state building, there is a BGS team that is supporting them. One of the things that I've learned in this job that I was really just pleased about is John is really doing a strong internship program with students in the tech program. I got to meet one of the individuals. And so we, again, even in our organization, in the world of operations and maintenance, we're experiencing in unique fields and trades like HVAC and any other ones, John, hiring people, electricians. Yeah. So at any time I'm introducing the team too, because if you want to know more, you'll become familiar with that. Some of this is from my budget, but I love data. And so I gave you some just data points and, that we do everything through work orders. This is based on 24, 70% were completed. We're about 50% on preventive maintenance items. This connects to the capital bill. This is where you are going to be talking about major maintenance. This is your point of connection to that. And then, as you know, and I think Representative Casey knows, BRINS, which is indoor air quality. We actually created a process when he served in a different capacity to work with the state employees when they have complaints.
The state office building.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy.
Public safety.
That's right. So that's an overview of operations and maintenance. They're, like you all know, Mike in this building, that's a part of that team, so the custodial services, the electrical, the heating, all of those pieces. And like I said, maintenance and repair. And it's a really good group of people. Any questions? I will continue going. Design and construction. Joe Aja is our director of design and construction.
He's the 13th member of the committee.
And did you see my notes? No. Joe, you will be spending a lot of time with. And for the new members, Joe will be presenting this week some of where the status of projects are that you just reviewed and what the process to do a project. But once the governor presents his budget, he will be leading some of the conversations and your presentations on those items that are in there. But I think one of the things, and again, looking at the data from 24, we had 116 capital projects identified. We've completed 64. And we spent of the money that's been appropriated about 33 million. And this does include some of our major maintenance items. Joe currently has 23 positions, full-time positions. He does have some vacancies. 5 to be exact, that Joe is working on, but we also are looking at other opportunities that maybe we can enhance some of the services. So any questions of Joe?
We depend on Joe a lot in the committee. He's our go-to person.
So where it says initiated, does initiated mean identified or does it mean
Underway.
it means under?
Yes, we've actually, been assigned to an individual. And they have at least done some brief homework to find out what the scope of work is. Because my project managers have anywhere between 10 and 30 projects.
Yeah. Right. And that was interesting. That was one of the data points in working, as we're aligning as a new commissioner, the average is probably 20. It depends on the level. We have project managers 1, 2s, and 3s. Pardon me?
We've got 6 now.
We have 6.
6 for project managers.
Welcome aboard, Wanda.
Oh, well, listen, every day there's something new. So, you know.
Since you were there, right?
I always, it changed. So I always say to people that, it takes a year. Doesn't matter what role you're in because everything we do is secular, right? Especially with the legislature. So, I'm giving myself a year. Just kidding. I have a sense of humor too. The next, division, which is really important, and you're gonna see this, some of it in the legislative is planning and property management. And Eric Pembroke is the director. Eric has 9 property management experts. Eric also manages the energy office, and the energy office was created by this committee in 2012. 2013. It's actually a task that we gave to our deputy commissioner. And so planning and property is the point of contact for state agencies to come into us and they say, hey, I need more space, or can we renovate this, or could we look at a new building, or is there an opportunity for this? All of those requests come through Eric's office. They also, so you just had an overview of the language where you were talking, where they were talking about the authority for us to lease or to negotiate with an outside entity to help us sell our property. This is all managed through Eric's shop. And I know you don't see Eric a lot, but all of but some of the language, the policy language that you are all just reviewing and discussing really filters through Eric's team.
And all the Pembrokes say hello.
I know.
Bennington.
So, yes.
Eric team manages 94 leases. It's about 866,000 square feet. This is as of 24. You are all just discussing lease property and different programs. Again, this is where that inventory would change. 22, I think this is interesting, of our total inventory, 22 or 23% is actually leased for state agencies. Any questions? I'm not going to get into the details on the energy office and the outcomes. I do have this here for you, but it's grown from really 1 to 3. I'm sort of looking at Emily. That was an aha for me. And there's some very detailed legislative reports that we can figure out if you want to, when you want to spend more time on it. I will say in general, all of the programs have been successful. We just got out, I think in November, and Eric's going to correct me. I think we had $33 million.
45, but 35.9 in the grants.
In the grants, there it is,
Yeah.
went out to 126 municipalities and we completed that in November.
We had that complete by December 20. So, yes.
That was huge, and it was huge to those municipalities. And it is, making a difference. So another time you may want to get into the details of this, but I think there's two, the energy program's grown for me, members of the committee. And also our role in, for example, electric plugins and money that was appropriated, and we'll be talking about that connection of buildings and general services to this overall initiative. So moving to the next one. Maybe. The Office of Purchase and Contracting, Director Demore is not with us today. But Deb Demore's been in that position for a very long time. She has 15 employees. We carry out procurement for everything that's assigned to BGS for everyone in the state. And so we don't just do the contracting for construction, all goods and products. If the Agency of Human Services needs Narcan, we're the entity or public safety, not agency. We're the ones who build that, contract for that and procure your paper, all of those services. And I think sometimes we stay, it's just about the construction. That's really a small piece of probably what they do in general. They do, I think this is helpful. So almost 50% of our contracts that are with Vermont vendors, we try to focus on that as much as we possibly can. There's just simply some services that Vermont businesses don't provide. We have 1,358 active contracts, and we also support cities and towns, your municipalities, in creating state contracts that are available for them to use in order to create savings at that local level. Office of Safety and Security, Bill McSallis is here. He is the director. This program was created in this committee after 9/11, which is a little bit of history. I don't know if you know that.
I do not.
Time ago, Bob
was-
Wood.
It was after 9/11, and actually working, and Connor, I keep looking, sorry, Representative Casey, I keep looking at you going, the union. But it was about safety and security for state employees. And it's where the badge program started. And what's so ironic is that I sit here today going, oh, it was about badge and identification and getting rid of all of the keys. And it was about doing site assessments. This program has grown significantly. All of you, if you've signed up for the State of Vermont Alert, that is managed through Bill's team. All of our emergency plans for state facilities is managed through this team. Continuity of operation for statewide is managed through this team. The occupational and health and safety is actually bigger than than most people realize, but it's managed through this team. But this is where we get a complaint or something about a building, they go in and they explore it. But one of the other things that I learned that we do, I think that's really important is, we have a policy about infants in the workplace to support families so they can come back to work. Bill's team actually will get a request. We go out and do an assessment to make sure that that work environment, that cubicle, wherever they are, is safe. So there's no hazards. And I don't know if you can quickly highlight on that, what you look at to ensure they can bring their child to work.
Yeah, we just make sure the area is safe. We make sure there's another employee who can take care of the child in case the parent's not there. But we even make sure there are blankets and little infant earmuffs and in case the fire alarm goes off. So we really try to put some added value into that program to make people sure that people can bring their infants in the workplace and do it safely.
What would be the age of an infant first coming in? 6 weeks, 2 months?
I believe it's up to 6 months.
I think that's.
But the minimum would be like 6 weeks. It wouldn't-
6 weeks to 6 months.
Okay.
And I believe it's AHS is probably our number one, since I've been here, is probably the number one user. And I think Waterbury is probably the prime location. Is
I
that?
believe so.
Yeah, based on just my time here. But again, it's a service you wouldn't think about. It's something that we do. It is important because we're always looking at risk too. That's, part of our role. So, and then the parking and we partner with judiciary, we partner with the sergeant at arms, there's quite a bit that's to the base of this program. I like the data that's here. I think Bill would like to see it higher, but 2,347 employees trained on emergency
This
procedures.
is just for this year, by the way, not for all time, just for this year.
Correct. Well, for 24. Right. So that's the program. You will see some of the staff and Madam Chair, and some members, you remember our security, remember the little pink building? That was sort of our security. The program has grown significantly.
I do have a question just for clarifying when we're talking about security. And particularly, like I'm looking at emergency procedures, is building specific plans, training and drills for building related emergencies. So I understand that it is looking at emergencies related to it could be a fire, it could be water damage, it could be. Is there any security that BGS offers that's law enforcement based? Or is your security more in terms of the operation of the building and the safety? Yes.
So we do not have sworn officers as part of our security program. However, we do partner with the sworn officers and there are our relationships. So we can and the way, and trying to keep this really simple, there are statutes on criminal and on charges. We can't charge, but when there is an incident and law enforcement comes in, it aligns with those if there has to be a charge. With the so it's a relationship. We don't carry firearms. We're not trained in that, and we're not sworn officers. Our staff is not. On the emergency procedures, though, one of the things that we do is we do the drills. We set the protocol. So I think you all just experienced this last week in this building. And you have, I call them fire marshal, or, you know, you had individuals identified that were directing you. Those protocols really have come from BGS. And so every building, and I think about DMV, we have an emergency plan. We've been trained. Our employees know which building they need to go to. They know when the alarm goes off, who it is. We have someone on every floor that is moving people through. So those practices that you experience are common in all of our state facilities and working with all of our agencies and departments.
I just wanted to clarify that for the committee, because when you talk security, I think people automatically think it's law enforcement or that type of security, and that's not the BGS focus for that. I just wanted that to be clear.
So the next slide is government business services. Deb Farrell is the manager of this program. At one point in time, not to get into history, there used to be a Department of Buildings and a Department of General Services. And I think this was around 1997, maybe 1994, I don't know.
Back when we were there, yeah.
And we consolidated, the administration consolidated the two. And that's how we are the Department of Buildings and General Services. This government business services is really about general services. So one of the things some of you may know, we manage and operate the information centers along the highway. We staff them, we manage them, we do the maintenance on them. They are built with federal dollars, and we are in partnership with the Agency on Transportation if they have to be replaced or upgraded. That goes through the federal dollar program. We get money every year to help us do some of the bigger projects that don't come through the capital bill, but we do use a little bit of major maintenance to help keep those facilities going. And we have 15, and many of you are probably familiar with those, but you probably didn't think they were sitting under BGS. Maybe you did.
So the staff that if you use a rest area and you go in and there's always a staff person there, that's a BGS employee.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct. And it was really a partnership between ACCD, transportation, and buildings, because we do customer service and we maintain those facilities that, it was incorporated, and they do a great job. I don't know how many of you visit your information centers. A lot of our staff there are retired individuals. It's part-time work and they love it. And they promote our state and they do a phenomenal job. So any visitor, anyone coming in, that's what they're doing, and they're doing this for all of us. The fleet program, that program was started here again. I go back to policy. So we've seen definitely changes in this program because of COVID and because of unknown callers because of COVID and teleworking, but we currently have 637 vehicles in the program. You can see that we've captured how many miles were traveled in the EV and the PHEV vehicles. And the rentals for the year were 4,701. We do have some departments that are high use, so they have vehicles assigned to them. And the program's still successful. Mail, I just really quickly, all of your mail, your pink mail, your regular mail, all of that is managed by BGS. All of the print, we have statute that requires, you used to have a choice between VCI, which is this committee again in your jurisdiction, and BGS. They did close the print shop at VCI. So we have seen an increase in requests, but everything that's being printed, all of your legislative documents, we used to do it where paper copies went, but now it's all electronic and PDF. But this is the team that is providing these services to you and everyone else in state government.
So if you've asked for paper copies on a daily basis of bills and house journals and house calendars, that's all printed through BGS and it's up in Middlesex.
Yep. And then state surplus, that is their statute, as some of you will learn that, we like to reuse. So if it's a good product, you don't get to just throw it away. It goes to surplus. But it's really important if you ever get an opportunity to go to the homepage of the state surplus. We do a lot of work with municipalities. We help them get used equipment. That policy, again, started in this committee. I think it was a fire truck, if I remember, Madam Chair. And it is a program that's used by not just the state, but the municipalities. So, and the last, is he still?
Yeah,
He is. So I would like to introduce to you David Sheets. He is the state curator. He has himself and one other employee. I think many of you will learn the role that David plays. David is our state curator. He does conservation, interpretation. His position is statutorily required. This committee helped make that happen. And part of it is because of the building you are all working in. We have the finest state house that is a museum. And it is a functioning state house, but that's not all that David does. He manages all of our artwork, all of everything that we curate. He serves for me, he's ad hoc on the Capitol Complex Commission, which is a committee we may be talking about. Arts and State Building, it's a program that you fund. The Farmers Night, that is done every year for the legislature, tours. You can look at some of his stats, but David, I don't think I always do your program justice. So would you like to add to?
You are the walking, breathing exhibits in this building.
And others.
We have a very robust school visitation.
Oh.
The biggest school visitation program in Vermont is here at the State House. Civics is at the heart of what we're teaching kids as they come here. And what better examples than this committee for learning about what government is all about and what is happening around them, in addition to the State House itself as an historic building. So I will be working with you on replacing the Tristan's art that we're going to try to get back to Tristan, but I'll bring in maybe next week. We'll have some new pictures on the walls.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So with that, I really appreciate the committee taking the time and finding the time to just meet the overall team because, you know, we will start to funnel down and be focusing specifically on the capital bill. But it's really, I already entered, they know Emily. See, my director sending me a signal, but, it is really an honor to work with these individuals. I think Eric is probably the newest director for me. Everyone else I've been fortunate to work with. Well, Bill, yes, and Bill. So here's the team. And we are here to work with you as well.
Great.
I mean, that's spectacular, that shot right there.
That
I
is
mean,
a great
it
shot.
doesn't get much better than that.
I was hoping someone would get a picture of the tree and the,
Oh,
I'm sure, David's-
But it
I'm sure your finger.
Come on.
So John we should have given him credit.
Right, I
Um,
know with the photos.
Yeah, yeah.
Staff did that, that's.
The staff did. See, and we do the Christmas tree and the menorah lighting. Oh, that is us, John's, so we have a gentleman. I said and the menorah.
Star on yourself.
They wouldn't, but I went to the cutting. I was there in Barry as they took down the tree. And when I was commissioner of DMV, I used to ride with my law enforcement in the vehicle as the tree was delivered, because I've always had a passion for BGS, so that was the only way I could be involved in the tree lighting. This is just one example of the services you don't think we do, and we do it with passion and delight. We have, a gentleman, Ira, who works with David, and the community reaches out to us. We go out and look at the trees. Our team decorates them. They decorated all of the side lights.
That's the first time they've done the apple trees, right?
It's phenomenal. The way they did it, I think they did it differently, and I don't manage it from, we kind of give the expectations. This is what it's gotta feel like. And they go out and do it.
It was gorgeous this year. It's absolutely, I think it's the way they did the apple trees.
I felt the same way when I
The
saw
tree
that.
was done like that last year, which was gorgeous, but it's those apple trees that were just beautiful. Joe and then Kevin?
Thank you. So when we discuss the capital bill, do we get like more granular information about things such as vehicle fleet? Or is it a matter of course, or is that something that we as members need to?
So I gave you an overview of what really this is part of our budget presentation. So we get really granular in the appropriations committee. if you want to learn more about our program,
World in the.
Oh,
okay.
bill. It's
Yeah.
not, the fleet would be like purchasing vehicles, that type of thing. That's in the appropriations committee, because that's general fund. It's not capital
Okay.
dollars that would be.
Very well.
The place where BGS, we get in a little bit with security. There'd be some security things we get in with the capital bill. Definitely.
property.
Property, definitely the construction of projects, or like we talked about the reuse of the Windsor Correctional Facility, that's an Eric's plate. So it's those items that are funded with the capital bill. But saying that, the person in appropriations committee that deals with the BGS general fund budget, which is separate from our budget, they deal with the revenue from taxes and fees that come in. That's where the money for the general fund comes from. Comes from your income tax, it comes from your corporate tax, doesn't come from sales tax, because that all goes into the ed fund. All your taxes go in, not all, but most of your taxes go into your general fund to pay for projects or pay for programs that are within our agencies and state government. That comes, Ways and Means works in terms of what the revenues are projected to be for the year, and then what your expenses are projected to be for the general fund. We are separate from that because we deal with bonded dollars. We're the credit card. for the credit card. Everything that we bond for, when the treasurer sells those bonds, it's a 20-year bond. It takes 20 years for the state to pay that back. That is done through the appropriations committee. That is done through our general fund. And we have a line item in our budget that right now it's about 79 million that we're paying on previous bond issuance for the capital budget over the past 20 years. So we're separate, but we're kind of connected at times. So in talking about BGS and their operations, we don't pay in the capital bill for any operations. It's not allowable for bonded dollars. The operations with BGS, the salaries, the materials sometimes that are used, like for printing and all of that, that comes out of the general fund. There will be a person of the appropriations committee that will be working with the Department of BGS to overlook their budget. They will be a liaison to us. We will have a committee member specifically as a liaison to appropriations that will look at the BGS budget, operating budget for that. So we don't deal with it paying for any operational costs. Not the capital bill. Appropriations in the general fund.
Commissioner, that was a wonderful overview, very helpful.
Thank you.
I too like data, and you had a lot of wonderful metrics. I'm curious, were those metrics you've developed, or are those metrics that have been followed for a while?
So in the appropriation bill, or in our presentation to appropriations committee, we do have to identify metrics. So these are some standard metrics that the department had developed, and these are updated. So I actually took a snapshot of my budget and brought it to this committee so you could just get through a visual data what we do. I too like data. My team's getting adjusted to that right now because data helps us make decisions. We can look at strategically at stuff and respond and react emotionally, or what is the story? So these are standard data. I think I'm pretty sure all division or all departments almost have to provide it in this through it's a policy or an expectation of your appropriations committee. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So the trends, we can look at the trends to say, are we catching up or falling behind, or are we?
Absolutely. And, and we have other data points that we do collect. We just, we have not as a team really focused on that. And I don't anticipate us holistically as a team really probably getting into more of that until after the legislative session. This is one of the strengths my deputy commissioner brings. And just working with the team. But I want us to be able to even present to you based on information and data. Because I think that helps all of us really understand. And you were giving some great examples to your committee members this morning. Don't focus about the number of beds.
Mm-hmm.
It's what goes into that. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Other questions? Because we have some free time and
I can do an overview on the reports if you'd like, without getting into them.
that would be great. But while we're here, before we do that, I'm going to ask Joe. I'm sure some of us can hear this.
I just noticed.
I was just going to notice it right off. So,
Asking Tay. Go on.
well, I would assume, and James looked at me and said, what, because it sounds almost like something's taken off. I would assume it's connected with our new air handlers.
Yes, it is.
And the issue was, we put in some new air handlers in this whole system for our HVAC system. And they can pump through a lot more air than what our piping system, the ductwork, can handle. And if they were turned on, the air handlers were turned on at full speed, that they could push the air through, our ductwork would be rattling and vibrating and creating a lot of noise. And I think this wave is connected with the new air handlers and
It definitely is connected. Why it's doing this, I do not know.
I didn't do it the other day. This is the first time I've
It's on
heard.
the setting, ocean surf.
Right?
Oh,
Is it just?
Supposed to relax.
It does.
Yeah.
Is it coming out of that one as well?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I will investigate, Madam Chair.
No, it's very peaceful. I was going to say the same. Is it
Madam
cold?
Chair?
You're cold?
I was never cold upstairs. They always were.
Is it cold?
Yeah,
Well, this room gets very hot. when the
Adam,
sun's out.
normally I'm not. So.
Oh, class.
Katie's working on it.
He's up there
He's
watching.
watching. So, the control people are tuning the system,
So is it doing it in all the committee rooms? I wonder.
perhaps.
So, you know.
It's just a today thing.
That's why it didn't move.
With the elevator as well.
Different group.
Okay.
Were they here? Well, they've been around because we.
The elevators at one more.
One of the
I
guys.
heard this.
Yes, someone was stuck in.
So, you know, you're gonna hear, if you hear complaints from our colleagues about something that's going on in their community, it's too cold, it's too hot, or something that's happening and like a door isn't closing, like the door to the ladies' room last year kept slamming, you know, if you hear that, take note of that and say, oh, I can help with that. I can connect with BGS because it's BGS. We'll take
Right,
that.
and that's part of meeting the faces today, right? Because John will have that door fixed in a heartbeat,
If he knows about it.
if he knows about
Also
it.
about to take note.
He was ready to take note of it, go get it fixed for you.
I've seen it fixed.
Yes.
Just fix the elevator. Just fix the elevator because someone got stuck in the elevator this morning.
Right before I almost got on it.
So,
So you ready?
yeah, we're,
Okay.
then you were also scheduled for some of this afternoon. So
But I think, I can do the overview of the reports, or you can break early and we can come back this afternoon. It is your choice. I don't have the schedule in front of me, Madam Chair.
She does.
Yeah.
and
So we were gonna do legislative reports from 1 to 2.
right,
And then we are done. We can come back at 1, or I can give you the overview of this, your choice. Committee's desire.
You need an hour.
Listen, I can talk as long as all of you can, so. How much time do you want to give
It's either
me?
25 minutes now.
I can do the reports in 25 minutes.
question is, what do we put in at 1:00? Because you wouldn't be available to go through any of these line items, would you?
We have filed our,
Stay.
I don't know. We have our presentation on that done. On the current, we have our presentation,
That's gonna fill the gap tomorrow morning, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
why don't we just come back, Madam
Why
Chair?
don't you come back at
Why don't we come back?
We
Let's,
want to see you this afternoon.
Why don't you come back at 1?
Better than rough.
again, thank you all very much for this opportunity to bring in the team and to just have the overview. I really appreciate it.
So you folks be a long lunch, but we're gonna do scheduling, 12:30, James and Troy, and you can connect with that too. We'll do scheduling for our schedule next week. And let's come back at 1:00 and
And maybe you and I could take 5 minutes?
let's take 5 minutes.